vielleicht nur als 5%.
Hello and welcome. Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Hema Saroya.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and on the show today, in a major breakthrough, the FBI has now released pictures of the person of interest who's connected to the Utah Valley attack. US President Donald Trump has urged supporters to respond peacefully to the killing of right-wing campaigner Charlie Kirk. Now this as the murderer continued to evade a manhunt for more than 24 hours after the shooting at the Utah Valley University. We're going to get you all the details on the show today. Stay tuned.
Also on the show today, a day after Gen Z protesters nominated former Chief Justice Sushila Karki for the interim prime ministerial post, rival factions are now divided over the choice, calling for people with more experience to join the government, adding that the role of Nepal's youth is to be the watchdogs. We will be getting you all the ground updates from Nepal as well, but first a quick look at the headlines.
US authorities released 4 new photos of the person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. A reward of up to $100,000 has been announced for the capture of the suspect.
He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
Donald Trump calls for a non-violent response to the murder of his ally and right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk, claims he has an indication of the motive behind the killing.
There's been a shooting.
President Trump draws both cheers and boos as he attends a baseball game in the New York Yankees while marking the 24th anniversary of the September 11 attacks.
Brazil Supreme Court sentences ex-President Jair Bolsonaro to 27 years in prison for plotting a coup. Judges voted 4-1 to convict Bolsonaro of plotting to overthrow Lula da Silva following the October 2022 election.
The UN Security Council condemned strikes on Qatar earlier this week and calls for de-escalation without naming Israel, which carried out the attack. Council members also underlined their support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar.
Youth-led Gen Z group which spearheaded the anti-government protest in Nepal says Parliament must be dissolved and the Constitution should be amended to reflect the will of the people.
Trump's nominee for ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, tells Senate Foreign Relations Committee that US and India are not far apart on the trade deal, calls India a strategic partner and pledges to strengthen ties and confirmed.
Wall Street closed at record highs Thursday, led by Tesla and Micron gains. Strong inflation and jobless data increased bets of a Fed rate cut next week. The S&P 500, Nasdaq and Dow all hit new records, while Warner Brothers Discovery rose to take over rumors. Now, Donald Trump has urged supporters to respond peacefully to the killing of right-wing campaigner Charlie Kirk.
And this as the murderer continued to evade a manhunt for more than 24 hours after the shooting at the Utah Valley University.
The FBI has released pictures of the person of interest connected to the attack. The person, described as a male appearing to be of college age and dressed in dark clothing, was captured on security camera at Utah Valley University.
Later, the Utah Department of Public Safety posted 4 more images of the person of interest. The images give a view of the person's backpack, sneakers and cap. The images also appear to confirm that the person was wearing a black t-shirt with long sleeves that was given to donors to a veterans charity.
A reward of up to $100,000 was posted for information leading to his capture. U.S. federal agents have announced the recovery of the high-powered bolt-action rifle believed to be the weapon that was used in the attack.
Now, in addition to this, investigators have collected a footwear impression, palm print and forearm imprints from the scene, all of which are undergoing meticulous forensic examination.
Already, Israel has killed hundreds of Iranians and injured thousands more, and we see that the fighting is now escalating more and more. We're here to say that that's enough, and it's time for the bombing to end.
The remains of Kirk were flown to Phoenix, Arizona on Air Force 2, with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accompanying his body.
Well, Second Lady Usha Vance stepped off with Kirk's widow, Erica.
Meanwhile, talking to reporters, President Trump claimed big progress in the investigation. He also implied that he had an indication of killer's motive.
Now, 5 is a lot, right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Why haven't they found the shooter yet, Mr. President? Are you concerned that it's been 24 hours?
Well, I hear they're making big progress, and we'll have to see what happens.
Do you have any indication of the shooter's motivation, sir?
I have an indication, yeah, but we'll let you know about that later.
The US President said that the Kirk's killer was an animal. However, he agreed with the suggestion from a reporter that his supporters should not respond with violence.
Hey, stop! Okay. Stop, folks! Stop! Back up! Hey, stop! Okay. Stop, folks! Stop! Back up!
Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of nonviolence and free speech on campus. How do you want your supporters to respond, sir?
I think that way. He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York as well. Listen to this.
Authorities have released new photos of a person of interest in the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk and have announced a $100,000 reward for information leading to the suspect. Investigators say that they have recovered the rifle believed to be the murder weapon along with other forensic evidence. Kirk's casket was being flown home to Arizona aboard Air Force 2 with Vice President J.D. Vance helping carry the casket onto the plane in Utah. President Donald Trump says that he has spoken to Kirk's widow, describing her as being devastated, and has pledged to award Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Trump, on his way to New York for a baseball game on the anniversary of 9/11, added that authorities already have an indication of the shooter's motives, but he did not provide any further detail. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
A day after Gen Z protesters nominated former Chief Justice Sushila Karki for the interim prime ministerial post, rival factions are divided over the choice.
Now, they are calling for people with more experience to join the government and have stated that the role of Nepal's youth is to be watchdogs.
We want a prime minister chosen by the Gen Z generation. We are not looking for this kind of leadership, and we don't need Sushila Karki.
On Thursday, the young protesters backed Sushila Karki, calling her the best option to lead the troubled nation, and held emergency talks with the army to formally propose Karki as interim head of the government.
The Gen Z protesters are also calling for the parliament to be dissolved, a call supported by Rashtriya Swatantrata Party, Toshim Karki, who said that the current system breeds instability and power brokering.
Meanwhile, the Brihat Nagrik Andolan, a powerful civic alliance, has accused the army of overreach, warning that behind the scenes, forces are using the unrest to restore monarchy and dismantle Nepal's secular and federal foundations.
Since the 8th of September, the death toll in the Himalayan country has risen to 34, with more than 1,300 people injured.
The curfew remains in the country, with soldiers continuing to patrol the streets of the capital city. Schools, colleges and shops remain shut, and only brief morning and evening windows for essential movements are allowed. Clean-up drives are also being launched to clean the city. And Qatar has denied reports that it is re-evaluating its security partnership with the United States after Israel's strike in Doha.
This comes as US President Donald Trump expressed hope that Israel's attack in Doha won't impact the hostage deal.
Qatar has rejected a report in Axios that the Qatari Prime Minister told White House that Doha was to evaluate its security partnership with the US and seek alternative partners. The Qatari government called these claims categorically false and emphasized that its relationship with Washington is stronger than ever and continues to grow.
Trump, who was in damage control mode after Israeli strikes, reportedly held a tense phone call with Netanyahu as well, warning him not to strike Qatar again. Speaking to reporters, Trump hoped that all hostages would be released soon despite the setback.
How do you think Israel's attacking Doha will affect the hostage deal?
Well, hopefully it won't affect it at all. We want the hostages out, and we want them out soon. Hopefully it won't affect it.
Israeli security establishment believes that the strike aimed at killing Hamas's leadership in Qatar failed to achieve its primary objective. According to reports, a majority of the targets survived the operation. It said that security officials are checking whether insufficient explosives were used or whether the Hamas officials relocated before the bombs fell.
The United Nations Security Council condemned recent strikes on Qatar's capital Doha but did not mention Israel in the statement, agreed to by all 15 members, including Israel's ally, the United States.
Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani told the UN security that Israel was derailing efforts to end the Gaza war by attacking Hamas leaders in Doha. Pledging to continue mediation, he accused Israeli leaders of showing disregard for the lives of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza.
The continuation of such attacks does not only target Qatar, it is a clear threat to target any country that is working on achieving peace. We will not condone any attack on our sovereignty. We will reserve the right to respond through tools guaranteed by international law. We call for peace, not war. Peace is our approach, and we will not be deterred by those who call for war and destruction.
Meanwhile, Qatar's foreign minister has warned that Doha will take all the necessary legal measures to respond to Israel's unprecedented strike.
The state of Qatar will not hesitate to defend its sovereignty and the integrity of its territory, and has formed a legal team to take all necessary legal measures in response to this attack.
Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani joined the funeral prayers for 6 people who were killed in the Israeli airstrike in Doha, including 5 Hamas members and a Qatari security force member. Hamas said that 5 of its members were killed. Top negotiator Khalil Al-Hayya's son Hammam, his office director Jihad Labad, and bodyguards Ahmad Mamlouk, Abdullah Abdel Wahad and Mumin Hussain. The funeral was attended by hundreds of mourners at the Imam Abdul Wahab Mosque in Doha with tight security in place.
Now, as the Israeli military closes in on Gaza City, millions of Palestinians who've already been displaced multiple times are faced with the choice of either heading back to the south or they need to continue to stay put in Gaza City.
The Israeli military has issued evacuation orders for residents in Gaza City, but with little safety, space and food in the rest of Gaza, Palestinians are clueless where they should head next as Israeli bombardments continue. Many are heading south through central Gaza.
I have nothing. My 10 children and I are walking in the street, heading south. We don't know where we are going. We don't have mattresses or blankets. We don't even have money or anything. As you can see, sitting in the street like this, we have God. We do not know how this will be solved. I swear I don't even know what we are heading into. Death. Maybe death would be better than what we are living in. I have children who slept in the street yesterday.
But many are tired of displacement. The almost 2-year war has already forced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to flee either to the north, south or central Gaza. But with Israel reducing every habitable place to ruins, many are keen to stay back in Gaza City and meet their fate.
Enough. This war, it tired us. It has been almost 2 years, with no rest, no settling down, not even sleep. We can't sit with our children just to sit with them. Our life revolves around war, and if they hit here, bombarded there, or if we have to go from this area to that area, we can't take it anymore. We are tired.
Let them take us out with a nuclear bomb, kill us and relieve us from this story. But we are not getting out of here. We are not. We don't have money enough to flee. We don't have any means to go south like they say. We here are dead.
So far, Israel's military offensive has killed over 64,000 Palestinians. And of the 251 Israelis held hostage by Hamas, 47 still remain in Gaza, including 25 that the Israeli military says are dead. All right, moving on, Brazil's Supreme Court has sentenced former President Jair Bolsonaro to 27 years in prison for plotting a coup.
Now, judges voted 4-1 to convict Bolsonaro of plotting to overthrow Lula da Silva following his October 2022 election defeat by the left-winger.
Well, the sentence could see the 70-year-old leader spend the rest of his days in jail. Bolsonaro was found guilty of leading an armed criminal organization, attempting the violent abolition of the democratic rule of law, organizing a coup d'etat and causing qualified damage to federal property and protected cultural assets. Defense lawyers for Bolsonaro say that they will appeal the verdict.
I set the final sentence for the defendant Jair Messias Bolsonaro at 27 years and 3 months, consisting of 24 years and 9 months of imprisonment and 2 years and 6 months of detention.
Bolsonaro himself did not attend the verdict hearings in the capital Brasilia, instead following the proceedings from his residence where he is under house arrest. His 7 co-accused, including former ministers and military chiefs, were also convicted. Bolsonaro, a former army captain who served a single term from 2019 to 2022, claims that he is the victim of political persecution. On the streets, Brazilians remain divided over the historic conviction.
Now, the trial drove a deep wedge through Brazilian society between those primarily on the left who saw it as a vital test of the country's democracy, from those mainly on the right who viewed it as a political show trial.
I believe that if he did wrong things and the court judged him with the evidence that was presented and according to the law, a conviction would be well received by the court that conducted the trial. I think it's favorable.
I think the condemnation is shameful, to be quite honest. I think it's unfair.
Now, the trial has also led to an unprecedented crisis in relations between the United States and longtime ally Brazil. Washington was quick to respond to the conviction.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States will respond accordingly to what he called a politically motivated witch hunt. Trump, who had levied steep tariffs on Brazil as punishment over Bolsonaro's prosecution, labeled the verdict very surprising.
President as a leader of a country, and I always found him to be very straight, very outstanding. Actually, as a man, a very outstanding man. I think it's a terrible thing, very terrible. I think it's very bad for Brazil.
Brazil's government on Thursday rejected U.S. threats. Writing on X, the Brazilian Foreign Ministry said that threats like those made today by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will not intimidate our democracy. The UK government has sacked its ambassador to Washington, Peter Mandelson, after fresh revelations of his close ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, this fallout from his association with Jeffrey Epstein is not just political embarrassment. One of the UK's top diplomatic posts has been directly impacted.
Well, the decision to sack Mandelson comes after leaked emails revealed the depth of Mandelson's relationship with Epstein. The British Foreign Office confirmed that Mandelson has been withdrawn from his post on the orders of the Prime Minister. The emails published in the Sun newspaper and confirmed by Mandelson's office have sparked political uproar.
The messages exchanged reveal Mandelson offered support to Epstein as he faced charges of procuring a child for prostitution back in 2008.
Well, the most incriminating of the email reads, and I quote here, "Your friends stay with you and love you, fight for early release," unquote. Well, demands are now growing for Mandelson to face questioning in Washington, where Epstein's victims continue to push for accountability. And his handwritten note calling Epstein "my best pal" has resurfaced in a so-called birthday book released by US lawmakers.
The revelation set off a firestorm in the British Parliament. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch called the details sickening and demanded Mandelson be fired immediately. Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey has urged a formal investigation into whether diplomatic codes had been breached. Labour MPs privately criticised Prime Minister Keir Starmer for appointing Mandelson despite knowledge of his links to Epstein.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer has defended Mandelson earlier this week, saying due process was followed when he was appointed. But today, under mounting pressure, Number 10 moved to act.
Now, quoting the British Prime Minister, Epstein was a despicable man. The ambassador has expressed deep regret for his association with him.
Mandelson has insisted he never witnessed wrongdoing. He described the scandal as like an albatross around my neck. The episode reignited scrutiny of Epstein's extensive network, which included powerful figures in British and US politics. The UK government now faces calls to release all Mandelson-Epstein correspondence and more rigorous vetting of senior appointments.
And Chile held its first televised presidential debate ahead of the November 16 general elections.
The event highlighted the deep polarization and the ideological clash shaping the South American country's political landscape.
Now, the presidential contest has been dominated by far-right candidate Jose Antonio Cast and Communist Party nominee Janet Yara, who are leading the polls.
Cast, a veteran politician who lost to current leftist president Gabriel Boric in 2021 election, has built his campaign on a tough on crime and conservative platform. He is aiming to capitalize on public anxieties over rising crime and economic issues.
Chileans are concerned about much more serious issues. They are concerned about the security crisis, illegal immigration, the economic crisis, unemployment crisis, the crisis of lack of growth, the health crisis, the housing crisis, the education crisis.
On the other side of the spectrum is Janet Yara, a lawyer and former Labour minister under the Boric administration. Her victory in the June primary election made her the candidate for the Unity for Chile coalition, and she has since gained traction in the polls.
In my particular case, the main issue I'm going to address with people tomorrow is the reality they live in, which is what is missing from this debate. What happens to them when they can't make ends meet? How do they experience anxiety and insecurity? How afraid are they of getting sick because they will fall into absolute poverty? So we are in a society in which those of us in politics are talking on one side, and what people are experiencing is happening on the other.
Now, with a crowded field of candidates and the two leading contenders representing opposite ends of the political spectrum, Chile's presidential election appears to be headed for a polarized contest.
All right, with that, it's time now for a short break.
But don't go anywhere. On the other side of World DNA, Indian Railways has launched its first ever parcel coach train from Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam district to New Delhi. The landmark move addresses long-standing demands from apple growers. All this and more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
As Gilmore Girls completes 25 years, here's decoding what makes it an all-time favorite fall show. Know why low-rise denims are making a comeback. And take a look at the iconic designer Giorgio Armani's legacy and influence. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with me, Hem Korsara, and my colleague Diksha Bisla. We've been waiting for you for all the things that have been lined up on this side of the show. But first, a quick look at the headlines.
At least 4 people have died and 3 are missing after a landslide in West Sikkim. While 3 individuals were killed on the spot, when the landslide hit, 1 woman later died during treatment. Another woman remains in critical condition.
The casket of Charlie Kirk has arrived in his home state of Arizona. His body was flown on Air Force 2 with US Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance accompanying his widow Erica.
President Trump draws both cheers and boos as he attends a baseball game of the New York Yankees while marking the 24th anniversary of the September 11 attacks.
Brazil's Supreme Court sentences ex-President Jair Bolsonaro to 27 years in prison for plotting a coup. Judges voted 4-1 to convict Bolsonaro of plotting to overthrow Lula da Silva following the October 2022 election.
The UN Security Council condemned strikes on Qatar earlier this week and calls for de-escalation without naming Israel, which carried out the attack. Council members also underlined their support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar.
The youth-led Gen Z group which spearheaded the anti-government protests in Nepal says Parliament must be dissolved and the constitution should be amended to reflect the will of the people.
Trump's nominee for ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, tells Senate Foreign Relations Committee that US and India are not far apart on trade deal. Calls India a strategic partner and pledges to strengthen ties if confirmed.
European Central Bank held interest rates steady at 2% on Thursday, citing a solid Eurozone economy but gave no hints on future moves. Inflation is forecast to stay just below target through 2027, keeping markets guessing on potential rate cuts.
Madrid and Warsaw to host the 2027 Men's and Women's Champions League final respectively. But UEFA did not take a decision on request from La Liga and others to play a league match abroad. Right, we have some breaking news coming in. The FBI has released a video of the suspected shooter in the killing of the right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University.
This new video shows the shooter suspected of firing at Kirk. It opens with a frame of the building from which the shot that killed Kirk was fired. A figure dressed in black is seen running across the roof to a corner of the building then.
The suspect then climbs over the edge and drops to the grass beneath before walking to a nearby road and crossing it to enter a wooded area. Authorities say the suspect was wearing sunglasses, Converse shoes and a distinctive black t-shirt with an American flag and an eagle.
Now, ahead of releasing the video, Utah Governor Spencer Cox said that the pictures and video of the suspect were being shared to get help from the public. He also said that more than 7,000 leads and tips have been submitted by the public and more than 200 interviews have been completed so far. He warned that there's a tremendous amount of disinformation on social media and urged people to not share it.
He said that the Russian and Chinese bots were playing a role in its spread. He added that there's a lot of forensic evidence which is being processed and that authorities are gathering the evidence needed to pursue the death penalty.
All right, so this is the breaking news that we are getting right now. Earlier, the pictures were released. Now we also have video. FBI has released a video of the suspected shooter in the killing of right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University.
You know, the new video shows the shooter suspected of firing at Kirk. It opens with the frame of the building from which the shot was fired that killed Kirk. And a figure dressed in black is seen running across the roof to a corner of the building. The suspect then climbs to the edge and drops to the grass beneath before walking to a nearby road and crossing it to enter a wooded area. The authorities say the suspect was wearing sunglasses, Converse shoes and a distinctive black t-shirt with an American flag and an eagle.
Now, ahead of releasing the video, Utah Governor Spencer Cox has said that the pictures in the video of the suspect were being released and shared to get help from the public. He also mentioned that more than 7,000 leads and tips have been submitted by the public and more than 200 interviews have been completed so far. He also warned that there's a tremendous amount of disinformation on social media and has urged people to not share it. He said Russian and Chinese bots were playing a role in the spread of disinformation on social media. Also added that there's a lot of forensic evidence being processed and that authorities are gathering the evidence needed to pursue the death penalty. So this is the latest that we have right now. As you know, Charlie Kirk was a right-wing influencer, an activist, the host of Turning Point. He had founded Turning Point and he was a close ally of Donald Trump as well.
But the FBI has now released a video of the suspected shooter in the killing of the right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. And the new video shows the shooter suspected of firing at Kirk. It opens with the frame of the building from which the shot was fired that killed Kirk. A figure that was dressed in black was seen running across the roof to a corner of the building. The suspect then climbs over to the edge and drops to the grass beneath before walking to a nearby road and crossing it to enter a wooded area.
A reward of up to $100,000 has been posted for information leading to his capture as well, in light of which Governor did mention that about 7,000 leads and tips have been submitted. 200 interviews have been completed so far. US federal agents have announced the recovery of the high-powered bolt-action rifle, which is believed to be the weapon that was used in the attack. All right, for more on this, we now have with us our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live on the phone line. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. We do now have video footage that has been shared by the FBI as well. Susan, what can you tell us?
Yes, so the suspect continues to be at large. The FBI has now said that there is a $100,000 bonus, basically, for anyone that can lead them to this suspect. But we did just see the FBI Director Kash Patel with others, Utah Governor as well. They hosted a press conference. They did not take any questions, but they released that video footage, the CCTV video footage, which you can clearly see the shooter leaving the premise after the incident happened. He jumps off the building, and then he has, it appears, the weapon with him. Goes into a woody place where they had retrieved the weapon already. Allegedly, he drops that weapon down there. That's where they found the weapon, and then he takes off. And after that, they have not been able to locate him, at least as of now. As you mentioned, they say that they have more than 200 tips. They're following all of them. But nonetheless, I think the big story here is more than 24 hours later, this suspect remains at large.
All right, Susan, of course, there's a lot of concern around disinformation as well, saying that Russian and Chinese bots are behind it. Do we have any information with regards to that?
There's just so much speculation. It was interesting that they said that there is so much different speculation and theories going on online. They actually said this at the press conference. They said that we recommend you do what Charlie Kirk said you should do, which was a quote from Charlie Kirk, which said, when things get very crazy around the world, put down your phone and spend time with your loved ones. They said that, but what they were really sending the message was that the rumors that are circulating online right now, they don't have any credibility, and they say that look for official channels of information to get the right information. And when you look at those channels of information, you see while they've shared a lot, there's so much little we know about what really happened.
Right. All right, Susan, thank you so much for getting us the latest on this. We'll, of course, continue to track all developments closely. And the Indian Railways has launched its first ever parcel coach train from Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam district to New Delhi.
The landmark move addresses long-standing demands from apple growers who have faced challenges due to the closure of National Highway connecting Srinagar to the rest of India for weeks due to adverse weather conditions. You can view all details in the next report. Take a look.
A major relief for the apple growers of Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Railways has announced the launch of parcel train from Budgam district in the valley to New Delhi. The two parcel trains from Budgam will transport fresh apple produce from various districts of Jammu and Kashmir to multiple states across India, boosting the region's horticulture economy. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, with the national highway closed for nearly 2 weeks due to adverse weather and landslides, this initiative offers critical support to the region's apple industry. Although the highway is partially restored, with movement of light motor vehicles happening, trucks loaded with apples have been stranded for weeks. This train service ensures a reliable alternative for transporting fresh produce to markets across India.
This has been worked out for some time now. We really did not expect that the work would start so soon. But the work of railway officers here and in Northern Railways played a huge role. Train is the only option where there is no closure. Now a train with fruits can reach Kanyakumari from Kashmir in just 4 to 5 days.
The Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, also thanked the government for such a timely initiative of helping the apple growers of the Kashmir division.
As the road is closed right now, we are very happy that we have an option of sending and getting stuff to various parts of the country.
The primary goal of the parcel train service is to support Kashmir's traders by ensuring their goods, including apples, saffron, walnuts, pashmina shawls, carpets, and Kashmiri handicrafts, reach markets across India efficiently.
NH44 has been closed, which is considered as a lifeline for the Kashmir region. We have requested the authorities that we need coaches for supplying our produce from here. We are doing the trial today and sending the first supply. Our apple is going to Delhi and one cargo to Jammu.
Each parcel coach will carry around 18 tons of supplies from the valley to the rest of the country.
It's a great news for the apple growers of the Kashmir Valley. The Indian Railways has started 2 parcel vans from today onwards from the Budgam district of Kashmir region towards New Delhi. As you can see, the apple growers have come to the railway station in Budgam and they're filling the parcel van with the apple produce that they've brought from their districts. With video journalist Firoz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
India and US continue to negotiate a trade deal.
India currently faces, as you know, 50% tariffs on its US exports, but now Washington believes that a deal could be reached within weeks.
President Donald Trump's envoy for South Asia, Sergio Gore, made the remarks during his confirmation hearing to serve as US ambassador to India. Gore said that despite sharp differences, the personal rapport between President Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi remains strong.
We're not that far apart right now on a deal. In fact, they're negotiating the nitty-gritty of a deal. Secondly, look, we hold our friends to a different standard. Frankly, we expect more from India than we do sometimes from other nations. I do think it will get resolved over the next few weeks.
He stressed that US-India relationship is now more important than ever. While acknowledging the frictions, he said both the countries are strategically aligned on the need to counter China's unfair economic practices and malign influence in the region.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio was also present at the hearing. Rubio said that India is one of the top relationships that America has today.
Yeah, which is, I would say, one of the top relationships the United States has in the world today in terms of the future of what the world's going to look like.
Now, the sentiment in New Delhi is also the same. India's Union Minister of Commerce Piyush Goyal said that progress is being made in India-US trade deal. He said that the deal is likely to be finalized by November, but how India and US will overcome the roadblocks remains to be seen.
The tariffs, the first time you added 120,000 jobs.
Now, the US dollar has been on a rough ride this year.
Falling more than 11 points since January, the dollar may have steadied for now, but many investors see this as a pause and not a turnaround, warning that the greenback could fall further.
Now, Trump's policies are playing a central role in shaping the currency's outlook. His America First approach, from tariffs on imports to efforts to bring back US manufacturing, has created fresh headwinds for the dollar.
A strong currency makes American exports less competitive, and analysts say the administration may quietly welcome a weaker dollar to boost domestic industry. While officials occasionally repeat support for a strong dollar, markets see little appetite in Washington to defend it at the current levels. Looking ahead, global investors remain cautious. Foreign funds hold trillions of dollars in US assets, and many are reassessing their exposure.
Some are already hedging against further declines, adding pressure to the currency. Analysts warn that if global investors start reducing their US holdings in a big way, the dollar could face another steep drop.
For now, the markets are watching both the Federal Reserve's rate decision and Trump's trade moves, which together will decide whether the dollar stabilizes or continues its downward slide. A controversial EU bill could force messaging platforms to scan their chats.
Even encrypted ones. The proposal, nicknamed chat control, is under fire. Now Germany's Tutor Mail is threatening to take the EU to court if it becomes law.
Well, commonly known as the Child Control Law, the Child Sexual Abuse Regulation or CSAR was first proposed in May 2022. The proposed bill seeks to combat child sexual abuse material if passed. The bill would require all messaging services in Europe to scan user chats and flag any SCAM, even when chats are encrypted. While the core concern here is encryption itself, critics say that the law could undermine data protection, leaving users' private, financial and medical information exposed.
German encrypted email provider Mail says that it will not compromise, adding that it will take the EU to court if the law is given a green light.
In a blog post, Tutor Mail CEO wrote that if chat control passes, we as an encrypted provider have two options: sue to fight for people's privacy or leave the EU a third possibility. Undermining end-to-end encryption is not an option. So we'd go with option one because everyone deserves privacy.
Now, it's not alone. Just this week, more than 500 cryptography experts signed an open letter warning the EU about the risks of the proposal. But despite growing pushback, support remains strong.
According to the Fire Chat Control website, 15 EU countries back the law, 8 oppose it and 4 remain undecided. The EU Council is expected to finalize positions on September 12th, with a possible adoption as early as October 2025.
Now, the World Athletic Championships begins this weekend and the world's best are descending on Tokyo.
Defending champion Neeraj Chopra has also arrived in the land of the rising sun, ready to renew his rivalry with Olympic champion Arshad Nadeem in the javelin event.
Now, Chopra returns to the venue, the National Stadium, where he became the Olympic champion 4 years ago. Nadeem dethroned him in Paris last year. It was Pakistan's first Olympic gold in 40 years. But Nadeem's build-up to the World Championships so far has been far from ideal. He has been recovering from an injury and has just competed in one event since the historic gold. Chopra, on the other hand, has enjoyed a strong season, finally breaking the 90-meter mark and finishing in the top 2 in every competition.
Well, this will be the first meeting between the two since the tensions between India and Pakistan escalated following the Pahalgam attack.
While there's tough competition in javelin, there is just one undisputed champion in the pole vault. Mondo Duplantis, the Swedish star, set his 13th world record last month, clearing 6.29 meters. He will be chasing a third straight world title in Tokyo next week. Duplantis, a 2-time Olympic medalist, is also looking for a special moment in front of a full crowd, something he missed during the pandemic-hit Tokyo Games.
And over 40 years after This Is Spinal Tap attained the status of a cult classic, the fictional rock band has reunited from the premiere of Spinal Tap 2. The End Continues.
We're going to leave you with this one. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. News and updates will continue on the other side on WION World is One. Stay tuned.
So we had a million things to take care of before we actually rolled. But once we did, we said, hey, we're in New Orleans. We're going to have fun. We know that. And we did.